Hi, I'm Kyler Mead of the Aberdeen American News. I'm here with Coach Tom Dosch of the Northern State Football Wolves. Today is National Signing Day. Big day, Coach. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it's a national holiday for football coaches and their families, especially their wives. I think everybody's excited about that. It's a culmination of a year or sometimes several years of work in the recruiting process that leads up to this day, and it's the I say it's probably the second step of the process, but it's the biggest one. And the recruiting process, number one, the actual signing process, number two. Then you got to get them here. They got to come, and then you got to keep them here. State retention is as important, or really more as important, or more important than recruiting is too. But focusing on the days leading up to this, and especially the day, it is an exciting time for our football program.
Yeah, I was happy to be able to be in the room with you guys, and the energy was really great. Just tell me the feeling of the day from the coaching staff and from you personally.
Well, our coaches did a great job, and it was really, I thought we started real well in the recruiting process going back to last spring or last winter, or even a year or two before. But really, this summer into the season, we did a great job of identifying guys we wanted in our program as players and as students, and really most importantly as people. And so we were able to get prospects and their families on campus early in the summer, and then obviously our first two home games of the year were the ESPN3 National Game of the Week with right under 8,000 fans against Southwest State, and then our Gypsy Days, which again right under 8,000 fans against Minot State. So you're looking at we had a lot of these players and families were able to experience the unbelievable atmosphere that we have here in Northern with our community and our school and everything. So that really played a lot in the whole thing as well. Just having identifying guys and getting guys and their families on campus early and getting them feel comfortable. We had 20 verbal commitments before the end of December, which is the most we've had ever. And then so I thought we started real strong, or started real fast, and then we finished real strong. We had 12 or 13 commitments the last week. Where our guys did a great job of finishing off in January. And everybody asks me, I tell them, well, I'll let you know in 2 years for sure, because guys got to get here. But obviously the start's got to be, you got to sign them if you want to have good players, and we were able to do that. So our coaching staff did a phenomenal job identifying guys and then recruiting them and developing relationships with them. And then the other moving pieces I've already talked about, the game day, the atmosphere that Northern State provides and Aberdeen provides. But then once they get on campus, the academic support staff, our strength and conditioning coach, Dylan Fritz, and his staff was phenomenal. They have been. That's a huge part of what we do here. And there's a lot of moving parts. Our tour guides, our current players hosting guys, making them feel welcome. There's a lot to it, and really just a great team effort. A lot of guys chipped in, a lot of people chipped in, and then made this thing a culmination of a lot of people working hard for a common cause.
I heard throughout, when I was interviewing some of your verbal commits, I heard throughout from more than two guys, how much the weight room really impressed them, and the facilities really impressed them, and the atmosphere. How big is it? You mentioned some of that stuff, but how great is it to have that behind you when you're going out and bringing kids here?
Well, yeah, and like I said, your players, we spend a lot more time in the weight room than we spend on the practice field or on the game field. So it's got to be an environment that they're comfortable in, and B, an environment that they think they can get bigger and faster and stronger. And really a big thing now too is keeping guys healthy, and really Coach Fritz and his staff they're just phenomenal with finding ways to get guys big and strong, but also what are we doing to keep guys healthy? And we're not a weightlifting team, we're not a track team. We lift a lot and we run a lot, but we ultimately are trying to make these guys good football players, and a big part of that is staying healthy, and that's been a huge part of it as well. And some of the stuff we're doing with our athletic department, with some of our nutritional things we do post-workout, has been a huge thing for us too. And again, Coach Fritz and Josh Moon have really led the effort on that, and making that a huge part of making this an attractive place to be.
It all adds up to 44 signings. We talked earlier, the biggest that you've had. What does that mean? You had, 23 guys obviously graduate. I'm sure you have one or two guys here or there that won't come back just because that's the nature of the beast. 44 guys coming in. What does that mean to the program?
Well, it means we got to have enough helmets and shoulder pads, so we got to check our inventory there. I think we're going to be good there. Really, I didn't expect it to be this big of a class. I honestly thought we'd probably end up signing 36, 38 guys in there someplace. And again, just our staff did a great job of finishing the thing off. And sometimes when you get down the last week or so, sometimes you might have more kids tell you yes, sometimes kids tell you no, for a variety of reasons, which may or may not have anything to do with Northern State. But really, when it came down to us, we really just had just about everyone the last week, 10 days especially, said they want to be at Northern. And so like you said, we had 23 seniors. So with that is a lot of guys gone, and you're always going to have some attrition. Anytime you have 105 guys, you're not just going to lose your senior class because of injuries or playing time or academics or a variety of things. So we know there's going to be some of that. And again, we just got to a point where we, just continuing to build the depth of our team and our program, which we graduated a lot of top-end players, as you know, but we also graduated a lot of depth too. We had a lot of guys that maybe some fans haven't even hardly heard of. That, again, I'm not going to start naming names, kind of, for instance, but we had a lot of guys who played those roles, that played a lot as a backup, played a lot on special teams, and you got to get all those roles filled, and you got to find the right guys for it. So with a lot of position groups, obviously it was 44 guys. We had every position group, really, or punter, which wasn't a high priority since we do have two returning guys next year. But other than that, it was important that we filled all the position groups, and we were able to do that.
Great. Let's talk about some local guys. We were really excited, a big group of local guys. I'll just read off the list, and you can talk about the ones that stick out to you. Chase Jacobs at Aberdeen Central, also Cannon Hannigan from Aberdeen Central, Chance Olson out of Langford, Zach Sumption from Loyola Frederick, Bennett Shabazz out of Groton, Jack Braun out of Warner, Bronson Hyatt from Aberdeen Roncalli. What was the feel like being able to get some of these really big time guys in Northeast South Dakota able to commit?
Well, we've been able to, we've always emphasized recruiting in this area, and some years it works out better than others because of are there enough Division II type players in the area? You don't want to sign guys for the sake of signing them. And B, are they interested in playing college football? And C, do they want to play college football at Northern State? So, you start here in town, obviously, with Cannon Hannigan being a multi-sport guy, had Aberdeen Central football, basketball, and track, and an athletic guy that played quarterback his senior year. And we projected Cannon to be a wide receiver here at Northern. And then Chase Jacobs, who again, both Cannon and Chase were guys that we identified early. Chase is 6'6", 285 pounds. You can't teach that kind of size. We really identified him as our top offensive tackle prospect on the board. So not only are they local guys, but they're standout guys. And Chance Olson from Langford is really a winner. He's played in a couple state championship football games, played in a state championship basketball game. He played quarterback in high school, did a little of everything in high school. We're going to project him to play cornerback in college. But we like the competitiveness, the toughness that he's got, and along with the athleticism. Zach Sumption, much like Cannon Hannigan, does have a tie here, and that his brother's going to be a senior next year for us, Brian. But so you know what you're going to get from a work ethic standpoint, what kind of guy you're going to get, and you can develop that. And Bennett Shabazz really is a dynamic guy for Groton High School, for Sean Warner's team there, where he led him to the state championship game, and really just when the game was on the line, he made a lot of big time plays. We call that competitive greatness. We feel he's got that, and so you look at him, and then also Bronson Hire, having played for Coach Dosch, as the starter there for several years. Logan Ritchie from Webster High School played in the state championship game. You mentioned Jack Braun from Warner High School, also played in the state championship game. So I like the fact, obviously, we're getting good players. And when these guys are playing in state championship games and advancing in football and basketball and whatever, you're getting guys that are used to being winners, and they're used to competing at a high level. And that's obviously what we want. Is we want to keep winning games and win more games and win championships. And getting more guys in your program who are used to doing that and expect to do that, I think, is a huge plus for Wolves football.
You had quite a few guys from out of state as well. Bismarck Century guys, you have a pair of them that won championships. Robert Romachka from Gregory, who won a state championship. So you got really a lot of these winners, these competitive greatness.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Jacob Rader and Seth Braun from Bismarck Century, back-to-back state championships, and the North Dakota AAA, the biggest class up there. Both are in line to potentially win state wrestling championships individually and team-wise as well. You talk about Robert Romachka from Gregory, a long athletic competitor. Same thing. Played for a state championship team, used to winning, and other guys too. A lot of guys that played on state semifinal teams. Probably might see a guy or two playing in the state basketball tournament here within the next month. guys in our signing class again. So really speaks volumes to me about, hey, you want to get good all-around athletes, guys that are used to competing. You know, I don't want to sign, I don't particularly care about, I don't like signing guys who just play football and then they say, well, I just lift weights and get ready for the next football season. When you're in high school, you should be a multi-sport guy, and that's what we look for. And that's honestly a big part of our evaluation too, is going out and watching guys play basketball, watching them wrestle, maybe go to a hockey game. You just get to see guys compete and be athletes, go to track meets in the spring. So a lot of opportunities to see competitive guys and see, you know, hey, you're going to lift plenty of weights once you get here. We're going to we've never run out of weights in our weight room. We'll have some saved for you. But you know, we want to make sure we get guys that are used to competing in all sports and year round, and that's really what we got in this class.
Great. Finally, gosh, tons of DBs, tons of linebackers, really good size on both sides of the line. What were the focuses with as many guys were going out, as graduating and leaving, as we mentioned? What were the focuses for this class, and how do you feel you accomplished them?
Well, you know, you bring it up right off the bat, Kyler. You know, with all the guys we graduated, and you can look at our graduating class, seeing a lot of those positions. You know, we had 5 linebackers that graduated. We got a couple more linebackers next year. We had 3 defensive backs that graduated. We got 2 or 3 more defensive backs next year. So it isn't even necessarily, when you recruit our 2017 signing class, isn't necessarily for the fall of 2017. Everybody thinks we're going to find all these guys that are going to plug into these spots. You know, there may be a few guys that play as freshmen. There'll probably be more this year than we've had because of the numbers of our team right now and the quality of this group. I think there's more guys that can come in and play as a true freshman. So you don't necessarily say, hey, we got to get all these holes filled with the next guy, but those are some areas that we've got to get more better players at. And you know, we're one of the, there's not many teams that play a true tight end anymore or play 2 tight ends anymore in their offense. Well, we do, and I'm a big believer in that. We signed 3 tight ends, you know, and you know, so I think just again signing athletes, we signed 3 tailbacks, which again, you got to keep those guys healthy. The other thing with that position and quarterback, which we signed 2, is those guys are generally the best athletes on their team. And so if they come in here as a quarterback or a running back, and if it doesn't work out, or we need depth at another position or whatever, you know, it's easy to slide guys over. You know, and so I think that's again goes back to, let's find guys who are good athletes and who are competitors, and find a position for them initially. And if that's their position, their career, great. If we have to move them to another spot because it's going to help our team, that's great too. You know, so I think that's a big part of it too. But yeah, wide receiver, we signed 5, 3 tight ends, you know, 10 linebackers, 10 DBs, and then offense and defensive linemen. We did have 9 freshman offensive linemen last year, so it wasn't quite the emphasis it was, but we still ended up with 6 of them because you can't have enough big guys. You know, you really can't. And the one thing about offense and defensive linemen is you don't know how those guys are going to project out and how they're going to progress. You know, because some guys coming out of high school need to put on 30 or 40 or 50 pounds. Some guys need to lose weight. Sometimes those guys are big and clumsy, and they just got to grow under their body a little bit. Sometimes they're guys that got to get in better shape so you can get a true evaluation of them. There's so many different shapes and sizes of big guys, and those are the guys that, as you look at the career or the path that guys take, you know, some of our best players as juniors and seniors on their offense and defensive line were not highly recruited guys coming out of high school. They weren't even playing that position, you know. Right, yeah. You know, so that's, you know, I don't have a crystal ball here to project. So, but yeah, you know, signing 4 or 5 defensive linemen as well, because we did graduate 4 guys there. We got a couple seniors next year, and we play a lot of those guys, you know. So I think it's important that we continue to build that depth and build that competition within our program, and really knew we would do that in this year's class, because with, like you'd mentioned, with 23 seniors, you know, 2 things happen. One, you lose a lot of good players and a lot of players from your program. 2, when you recruit, that's where you get your recruiting dollars for your signing class, is from your seniors that left. You know, that's how that equation works. So you know, a lot of top line guys mean we're going to have a lot of scholarship available, and we were able to really maximize that scholarship in this year's class.
That's awesome. We'll leave it at that. Coach Tom Dosch, thank you so much for joining us. Big National Signing Day. Thanks for being with us.